Bismillahirrahmanirrahim and Assalamu alaikum dear students. Welcome to our next lecture of machine learning. Today we will discuss about the dimensionality reduction of the data. Previously we have seen that when the data has more and more features, the model that we need to build for its classification and regression, that also becomes complex. And a complex model is more error prone, more uninterpretable. Now we look at some background. The complexity of the classifier or the regressor depends upon the number of features. More the features, higher the model complexity. The complexity increases in terms of both time and space, right? If there are more number of features and there is a complex model for it, so this model would get more time to train. It would require more computational power to train itself. It would require more storage, for example RAM. The training set size requirements also increases with the increase in model complexity. Another thing is that to train a more complex model, we need more data, a large set of data, because it needs to see from different perspective on the data, and then it becomes generalizable. So the summary is that more the feature, complex is the model, and the complexity is not only concerned with the model, it's concerned with the computation, time and resources, the hardware required, and the training set size is also need to be large. The number of features is called the dimensionality of the data. If there is only one feature, we say that our data set has one dimension. If there are two, then it is two dimension, and so on. The machine learning method should automatically filter out irrelevant features in order to simplify our computational process, to simplify our model. So why we are concerned about reducing the number of features? The machine learning method should automatically filter out irrelevant features. So why we are concerned about reducing the number of features, right? Model complexity depends upon the number of data instances and the number of data dimension. So we have discussed that why we need to do this dimensionality reduction task ourselves. Here you can see that we have a simpler model that has only one feature, which is denoted as x, and it has two parameters. And here you can see that it is a rigid in classifying the different type of data. However, if we increase the number of features, for example, here we have increased x1 and x2, it's not x here, it's x2 basically. So we have x2, then for those two features we have a complex model that is basically a squared model, right? And if we increase the number of features more, we will have more complex model. Why dimensionality reduction? Reducing memory and computation complexity we need, because we want our algorithms to be faster, that use minimal resources. Discard the unnecessary inputs to save its extraction time. And simple models we want to have are easy to interpret. Simple models have less variance, less effect of outliers. It means that simpler models show more generalized behavior and easy visualization and understanding. So here you can see that we have one dimensional model in this figure, and it's easy to understand, easy to visualize. Here we have a two-dimensional model which is comparatively complex. Here we have three-dimensional model which is more complex as compared to our previous models, and here we have a four-dimensional model which is even more complex to understand and interpret. And what about the other five-dimensional, six-dimensional and more number of dimensions models? The matter becomes complex and complex. Feature reduction methods. There are two methods. One is called the feature selection method and other is called the feature extraction. feature selection. In feature selection, we find k high value features out of D and discard rest of D minus k features. And in feature extraction, we find new k dimensional features using D dimension features. It means that we may have some computations to form new k dim features. For example, if there is a feature x1 and x2, in order to find a new feature, we may have something like this, x1 plus x2. So using this kind of combination, we will have one single feature and we will discard these two. Feature extraction methods can be either supervised or unsupervised. And linear methods and non-linear methods. There are two categories of feature extraction methods. Linear methods again could be supervised and unsupervised. For example, in linear models, we will have linear discriminant analysis, which is an example of this domain. And in unsupervised example, we can find a principal component analysis, factor analysis, multi-dimensional scaling, etc. And nonlinear methods include the isomorphic feature mapping, local linear rebanding, and Laplacian eigenmaps. These are the methods that we will study. Right? So you don't need to worry about these unknown terms. Now we look at the first method, which is called the subset selection method, which is a method of feature selection. In subset selection, we find the best subset of set of D features. For example, if we want to find the best K features out of D features, so we will form all the subsets of K features and we will see that which one performs the best, which one gives the best results. So we will select that K feature set. A subset that contains least number of dimensions contributing most to the model accuracy. So we will include all those features which contribute more toward the performance of our classifier in our subset. For a set of D features, there are 2 raised power D possible subsets. For example, if we have we want to form a set of 2 features, right? For example, x1 and x2 out of 3, 1, 2 and 3. So we will have 2 raised power 3 combinations, 2 raised power 8, right? So you are required to see that how these combinations are formed. You may take these two values x1 and x2 and perform their multiple combinations in order to get the 8 features, right? I just gave you a hint that previously somewhere in first or second chapter we have solved this example. We use heuristics to find a reasonable, not optimal solutions in a reasonable time. What is the issue? Issue is that if we have to look at all these 2 raised power D possible subsets, it takes lot of time and lot of computational resources. Instead of having this brute force method, we just go for some heuristics to find the reasonable solution in reasonable time, and the found solution may not be optimal. Then we define an error function which is used to measure the effectiveness of the features that we have selected. Usually the error function is mean square error that we use, or misclassification error, MCE. For this purpose, the data is divided into 2 sets, normally known as training set and validation set, right? And we know from the previous discussions in our machine learning lectures that we have to train the model and then we test it on a validation set. There are 2 ways of subset selection. First one is the forward selection and other one is the backward selection. Both are similar, so we look at this one first and try to understand the mechanism. In forward selection, let we have a D feature data set. In our given data, each instance has D features. For example, if we look at our iris flower data set, in that we have 4 features of each instance. We select the feature which reduces the error most and add it to the subset. First of all, we evaluate the classification or regression on each of the feature set. So, we evaluate our classifier on each feature set, on each feature, and we find that which feature gives the best results. So, we include that feature in our data set. For example, if F1 gives us the best result among all 4 features, so we take F1 in our feature set. We remove the feature from D feature set and we obtain a D minus 1 feature set. It means that for the iris flower, now we will be working with F2, F3, feature 2, feature 3 and feature 4, because F1 we have already selected, so we will discard it from the testing for further processing. We find next high value feature from D minus 1 feature set and remove it, and find next high value feature from D minus 2 feature set and remove it, and we keep on repeating this process for k times in order to select the best k features among the D features. This is a forward selection procedure, whereas in backward selection procedure we suppose that all features are high value features and add them to the D set. For example, initially we will have all F1, F2, F3, F4, and then we will analyze the performance of our algorithm on individual features F1, F2 and F3. Then the lowest performer feature is discarded from this set and we are left with the 3. Then we again look at these 3 and then perform, and we will keep on processing this. Find and remove the lowest value feature to get D minus 1 subset. Find and remove the next lowest value feature to get D minus 2 subset. We repeat until we are left with the k features. So, I hope that you have got the idea about the forward selection and the backward selection that we are going to explain in coming slides with the help of examples too. Sequential forward selection. Let FD is a feature set of our input dimensions, whereas we have D dimensions in our input data, and let EF is error obtained using validation data set. So, we start with no features F, which is empty set, and we find the results on each individual feature. We train our network, we train our model on each individual feature. Train the model M on training set to find error of each feature, error of feature set, where we include one feature at a time. So, previously our feature set is empty. It means that we are going to find out the error on individual feature, and we will do this for all the features. We will choose Xi, the feature that produces least value for E, which gives us least error, right, in this way, and we add this selected feature J to F, to the feature set. For example, this EF, if this error is less than this, we add X to the feature set. So, previously we have nothing in our feature set, and the error obtained on empty feature set is higher as compared to any feature trained model. So, we will have now a feature set which will contain some attribute Xj or Xi, which has the highest performance or the lowest error. Then we will look at another feature and add the next highest performer feature to our list to obtain something like this Xj and Xk, and so on. So we will stop if adding any features does not decrease the error. A user may define another criteria for stopping. For example, you may define some threshold or something other. The method is also known as the wrapper approach. Now we use this wrapper method over the iris data set to explain it with the help of example. The distance calculation is done using the norm, L2 norm, or this kind of formula, which gives us x minus mi whole square, mean that the value of the feature which is subtracted, the difference is taken of that from the mean of that feature, and that is given like this. Here we can see that x is, the difference of x is taken with respect to mi first mean, the mean of first feature, here the mean of second feature, here the mean of third feature and fourth feature, and so on, right, where mi is the mean of ith class or ith feature, and these are given over here, right. And if x is unidimensional, then we can find three values for it as follows, right. For a given x sum, we will subtract it from the first feature of x, which is subtracted from the mean of first class, second feature which is subtracted with the mean of first class, third feature minus mean of first class, fourth feature minus mean of first class. Remember that in iris data set we have four features: sepal width, sepal height, length, petal width, petal length. And this for class 1, for example, this is class iris setosa, this is class, for other class 2, and this is third class, which is iris virginica. So in this way, using this formula, we will find the distance of given instance from each class, and the distance which is minimal, the instance would be assigned to that class. The instance x will be assigned to class which has minimum distance. Using one feature at a time for classification, using nearest neighborhood method, the validation accuracies are given like this on the iris data set according to book. And I have also written the same program, and according to my experiment, the values are like this. However, we will go with the values given by the book. We would select here, you can see that the fourth feature is given x the maximum accuracy and the minimal error. So we will select the fourth feature in our feature set. Okay. Then we will form two feature set with the rest of the features. For example, we have selected this. So F4 is selected, and we are forming its pairs with all rest of the features, F1, F4, F2, F4 and F3, F4. Then we find the scores of these two feature based trained model, and the results are obtained like this: 0.87, 0.92 and 0.96 respectively. So 0.96 result is generated for this two feature based set. So we will keep these two features. We will add F3 in our feature set. So our feature set becomes this F3 and F4. Now as we have selected F3 and F4, we will form the subset of these two features with the rest of the features, which first one becomes this and second one becomes this: F1, F3, F4 and F2, F3, F4. The validation accuracies remain same, so we stop. It means that there is no other high feature, high value feature in our data set, and we will finalize this data set. because it is giving us the feature set. This is giving us the highest value. We will discard F1 and F2 and we will keep the high value features, which are F3 and F4. The feature selection is based on following two factors. One, the feature selection depends heavily on the classifier that we use. And for small data sets, the feature selection also depends upon the way training test split is generated. Right? It's an interesting process, because if we have a small data set, and in small data set, if we divide here on the lowest 20% parts, for example, for validation, and first 80% part for training, there may be the possibility that the patterns in this 80% data are somewhat different from this 20% data. In that case, we go for the cross validation or some other approach that we opt. A better idea is to do multiple random training validation splits and decide by looking at the average validation performance. It's again the cross validation basically. We look at this figure. Here you can see that plotting the training data for single feature on iris dataset, the three classes are shown with different symbols. It can be seen that F4 by itself allows quite good discrimination. How that? In this figure, we are using feature 1, and for feature 1, this plus sign represents first class and multiplication sign represents second class and the circle represents the third class. So feature 1 is not performing well on the classification of these instances. Now we look at feature 2. Feature 2 is performing better than feature 1. However, its performance is again not as that good as it should be. F3, again F3 is very good at classifying class 1. It's again good at classifying class 2. However, it is giving a mix with class 3. But if we look at feature 4, it's giving us a very good classification on feature 1, very good classification on feature 2, and a very good classification on feature 3, on class 3, sorry, for class 3, right. So in this way, we will decide the feature for the selection to be included in the feature set which gives us the best performance. Here is the plot showing the training data with F4 as one feature together with one of the remaining features F1, F2 and F3. Here we see that F4 and F1 are given. The classification is good. However, there is a mix. Here F4 and F2 classification is good, but still there is a mix. If we look at here F4 and F3, the classification is very good, and the variance is also little. So it gives us best way. Here you can see that the variance is higher for all these three classes, right. Here is a mix is more, variance is higher. So from this visual inspection, you can see that this is the best one. Issues with subset selection. This is a greedy search algorithm. For D feature data set reduction to K, we need to train and predict this much time. For example, if we are working with a D feature set, the first time we will have to find the features, find the accuracy for all D features separately, and then we will select one of them. We will keep that selected feature in our feature set, and then we will work with the rest of the D-1 features and so on. It is a compute intensive method, and again it is a local search procedure which does not guarantee to find the optimal subset. Now we look at the sequential backward selection. We will start with f containing all features, mean our feature set contains all f1, f2, f3 and f4 features. We find the accuracy of the model on whole feature set, and then we find the accuracy of the model on each feature individually. We will remove the one with least contribution, right? The error, the feature which gives us least error. We remove xj from f if error f minus xj is less than error f. Mean if the error on whole data set remain greater than the error which is obtained by removing this xj, then we will remove xj. In other words, if removal xj gives us lesser error, then we will remove it, otherwise we will not remove it. We continue this till no more removal remains possible. Removal of attributes does not improve the performance, right? SBS, sequential backward selection, is same as that of sequential forward selection. However, comparatively it has more complexity, more compute intensive on all parameters. Right? You are required to look at that, how it is more compute intensive. That's all about for today. Now, in the same lecture, I show you that how the program for this sequential forward selection could be designed. Here you can see that we have designed a program to perform the wrapper method, to implement the wrapper method for our subset selection. Okay, we are using the iris flower data set. First of all, we have used some pre-processing on our data set to make our computation better. As an example, let me start from here, from the main method. We have called here the read data and giving a parameter true. I make it false and then I explain that why, what it is. When I debug my program, making this parameter read numpy false would bring us in this else part of our program, and this part, using the pandas library, it is reading the flower.csv file, which is our flower data set, which consists of 4 features and the 5th one is the class. Right. And here you can see that we are just going to print the name of the columns, which you can see here. We have sepal length, sepal width, petal length, petal width and the species, right. So, we have basically 5 columns in our data set. There is some problem with it, I just correct it and then we start again. Okay. So, now you can see that we have these 4 features and this one 5th is our class, the species. And then we extract each feature separately. Iris setosa, all the instances belonging to this class, we get all the instances belonging to iris versicolor class, we get all the instances belonging to iris virginica class, and then each of these 3 classes contain 50 instances. We take 30 instances and give them name as iris setosa train. Remaining 20 instances are taken as iris setosa test. And here we work the same thing with the other 2 classes as well. And then we concatenate all the training files to get the data train set, which contains 90 instances, 30 from each class, and each consists of 5 features. 4 of them are the features and 5th one is the class, as you can see here. And then we concatenate the test instances, which becomes 60, 20 from each class, and there are 3 classes, so there are 60 instances. And here we separate the features and the class. The features which are placed in X-train and the labels, the classes are placed in Y-train. For example, here you can analyze it, that what is in X-train, these are, you can see these are the 90 instances, which each of them consists of 4 features. Right. For example, the first one is 5.1, 3.5, 1.4, 0.2. Whereas in Y-train we have only the class names Iris setosa. Similarly, we have taken the features from test set and class from test set separate. The classes are present in the textual form, the name of classes are given in textual form. So, we have converted them into integers form. We have placed in Y-train where the Iris setosa is written, that is replaced with 0. Similarly, Iris versicolor is replaced with 1. Similarly, Iris virginicea is replaced with 2, and same is done with the test set. Here we print the shapes of the data, right, and you can see the shapes are presented over here. For example, in our train X we have 90 instances, each instance consists of 4 features, and in our X test we contain 60 instances, each consists of 4 features. In our Y train we have 90 instances, and in our Y test we have 60 instances of 1 feature, which is a class. And then we save them as a NumPy file because we have to later on use it in our program. We have got the data in our right shape. Now, what we are going to do? We are going to test the results on each feature separately. For example, we are testing on feature I, we get X-train and ith feature, which is I means 0 means first feature is placed in X-train, and we reshape it because it is required for our classifier to have this shape. So, we reshape it, and for test, the test data is again done the same procedure, and we train model. Now, we look at that how the train model works and what is in it. Here you can see that we provide 2 arguments, X-train and Y-train, right. X-train, it consists of all the values, all the instances of feature 1, which is sepal length, and Y-train, it contains their relevant classes, right. And here you can see that we are converted it to integer form that is required for our k neighborhood classifier, and we are calling this k neighbor classifier. This classifier is built into sklearn library. So, we are using this built-in classifier, and we are saying that there are 2 classes, so 3 classes. So, the n number of neighbors is 3. This classifier is generated here, and then we fit it. We train this classifier on this X-train data, which contains, again look at that, X-train contains 90 instances of 1 feature, right, and Y-train again contains the 90 instances of 1 feature. In Y-train there are the classes, and in X-train there are the features. So, we train it, it has been trained, and we return it. The model is trained. Then we will go for testing it for its validation. We go for test. Here we provide the model to this method, and then we provide the test instances, which are 60, and each instance consists of 4 features, and there is Y test, which is the number of class. So, now we can see that we have trained our model on 1 feature, that is the feature 1, and we provide its validation set and X test and Y test. So, we try to see that what it performs on that. Here we, on this line 72, we are predicting, we are making the predictions of our train model based on the validation set, which is X test, and we see that the predictions have been generated, and then we see, we count when if the prediction is equal to actual class, right, we count it and we report it in the form of percentage. Here you can see that the result is 61.6%, means 62% when we are training our model with one feature. Then we take the next feature, we train. Now we are going to train the model on our next feature and we test it on the validation set. Here you can see that the accuracy is 60%. Then we train on the third feature and the accuracy is 96% now. Now we are going to train it on the fourth feature, the last feature. The accuracy of this one is 93%. So in this our particular case, we will select the best performing method feature, which is 96% feature 3. We will use that feature in our feature set. And once that is used in our feature set, right, here you can see that result I3, I mean that I have selected the feature 3 and then I will be working with two features, 1 3, 2 3 and 3 4. So we move forward. Now we will be running this loop for 3 times because we have to check it with F1, F2 and F4. We will just print results on feature I and 3, mean that results on feature 0 and 3 that we have selected. We get the column 1. Basically column 1, you can see here X train this. From the training set, we have extracted column 1 and we have extracted the column 3, which we have already selected in the previous iterations. So we get these two columns and then we concatenate these two columns. After concatenation, X training would be this. Here you can see that this is 90, number of instances, number of rows are 90 and the number of features are 2, column 1 and column 2. We train our model on it and then we make our test data and we test our model on that. Here you can see that with these two features F1 and F3, F0 and F3, we have 96% accuracy. If we work with feature 1 and 3 and train the model and then we test it, it gives us 95%. Then we perform the same operation with the next feature. It gives us 98% feature 2 and 3. Basically, it has been done with itself. And similarly, we will work with the feature 4, right? And then you can reproduce this code for 3 features and for 4 features for your own testing. I will provide this code to you on the GitHub repository, and I recommend you people to understand this code, to work on this code. It also gives you the idea that how the nearest neighbor classifier works. I hope this lecture would be clear to you people. You will do the practice, you will do the programming and try to understand this. For next lecture, till next lecture, Allah Hafiz.